Hello. Y'all see my hair? Mm-hmm. See how the coils, they're popping? Yeah, I made that. I made that product that I put in there to make the coils pop and still shine. Yes, I love it. I'm very excited. I'm developing a product. It's made of all edible materials, so it really is natural and really is good for the whole body, including the hair. This is a day 2 after wash. Anyway, okay, so this is actually about, this is an episode of the Beyond Grief podcast. And this episode is about pain. It's about pain. And my approach to pain is, I like to think, is not heavy. I am willing to go into the full grief and the full pain of grief in order to learn it and express it and feel it all and then get through it and move on with life. So it's not that there isn't heaviness there. It's not that my experience with pain hasn't wrecked me at times, but I am still here. I'm still standing. I'm still beautiful. I'm still capable. So, you know, so that's kind of my approach to pain is like it strengthens you when you let it strengthen you, when you allow yourself to learn from it, when you find the beauty in it, even while you're going through the process. If you learn to fall in love with the process and learn to fall in love with the wisdom that the process takes you into, then you can accept the pain. So, so this has been milling about in my mind for several days now. And it probably started when a friend of mine called me to let me know that his father had just passed, and he was a wreck. And understandably so, there was a lot of, I think a lot of us experience this when our loved ones are sick. There's a hope that they're going to pull through and overcome it, and we kind of cling to that hope for fear of like letting our loved ones down and maybe facing the reality that their life could be coming to a close. And a lot of times when it does come to a close, even though we have prepared for it in some ways, it's still gut-wrenching. Like, it still leads to sleepless nights. It still produces tears. It still feels confusing. Like, what do I do now? And what do I do with wanting to call them when the birthday rolls around or the holiday rolls around, or I go to their favorite coffee shop, or, I pass the things or the places that we used to do together. And, that's just a very real feeling, and I always feel like saying just embrace that process, embrace the missing of the person, because the deeper you miss them, the more you love them. It's just a display of your love and the depth of your love. Don't cut yourself off from your love, so don't cut yourself off from your grief, because this is a wild and wonderful like experience to have, being in this human body on earth, weighed down by gravity, like dealing with emotions in such a visceral way. I mean, our emotions literally inform the way that our body responds to the world. And that can be a gift. That can be, oh man, just like I want to say responsibility, but of course I look at responsibility through my rose-colored glasses and I say, responsibility, wow, that means I have the ability to respond to what life throws at me, not just react, right? So the responsibility to create, for lack of a better word, to create the experiences that I want to have, right? to create the experiences I want to have. It doesn't mean that what happens in my life I can always control. No, or what happens to people around me that affect me, I can control. I can't. I can't control people around me, but I can control my response. I can control what I take on as my own. I can control my definitions of things. I can control how I'm going to perceive things. What I decide to what I decide to attach to in terms of meaning for the things that happen in my life. And in this way, there's a separate rabbit hole I could go down to, which is like, I can change the past by changing the meaning that things from the past have in my mind. That's over there, and I could like talk a lot more about that, but I want to stay on track here because we are talking about pain, and we might wind up back there actually, because maybe part of the things that I've learned about pain in my body from my experience have led me to the understanding that I can change the past, and effectively by changing my relationship to the past. So I change the meaning that the past has in my body and in my life and in my psyche and in my mentality, which means that I experience the past differently. I respond to the past differently. I relate to my past differently. And for me, my experience has been going from relating to things in my past with heaviness and kind of like unresolved angst and contempt and hurt feelings into resolved feelings and peace and calm and understanding and compassion. And I don't want to like make light of that process, but I also think it's easy. I think it is easy. There are a lot of suggestions and a lot of people misery loves company, right? There are a lot of people who you'll always have access to that can throw a bone to like your misery. It takes making a decision that I'm not going to live a miserable life to not take that bone. Whether I make it, whether someone else is throwing it, whether it's something coming up from my past for me to deal with. I think that, yeah, again, back to the responsibility. We have an incredible responsibility to change what we want to. Yeah, and when we really want to, it's easy. When we really want to change, it's easy. It's like, no, I am done with this thing. I'm done with feeling like this. I'm done with taking myself around the loop around. I'm done blaming others. I'm done recalling something that happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago that was crucial in my development. Yeah, like when I just decide and keep deciding that I'm done with things that make me feel powerless, or feel alone, or feel stuck, then I begin to create the mindset and the thought patterns, the ideas, the perception that I need in order to feel more toward the thing that I actually want to feel. So a lot of this has just been stewing. I've been brewing these thoughts for the past week on pain, measures of pain, obviously emotional pain. I think a lot of people are really afraid to go into their emotional pain. And let me just tell you, as a Cancerian sun person, man, the only way through is through. The only way through is through. Yeah. And I think people get through pain in different ways. Like, I'm not saying there's only one way to get through it, but I'm saying that the transmutation of pain can't happen without feeling it, without addressing it. Let me put it that way, without addressing it. Because I'm also thinking about something I heard of where in China, women can go into the Chinese massage parlors and get breast massage because I don't know, everybody knows there. Everybody knows that tension and anger in the breast leads to disease. And specifically, you know, for those of us who are concerned with preventing breast cancer, one way to do that, to practice prevention, is to make sure that you process the emotions that live inside. And so whether that's getting a massage every other week and really having like an intentional deep process with that massage where you're fully caring for your vessel and everything that comes up through it, or if you have yourself a cry session on your kitchen floor, or if prayer is your mechanism, no matter what the mechanics of it are, like, the point is to actually process the emotion so that it doesn't come up later. It's so that it doesn't come up later. You process it now so you can get it over with, so it doesn't continue to live in your body and build and become stuck and stick to other things and then snowball and wind up this like autoimmune disorder that you couldn't explain. So yeah. So that tells you a little bit about like my medical thinking about the physical relationship between emotions and the body and our responsibilities for this relationship. So pain is inevitable. It is something that we will all experience multiple times in our lifetime. Everyone will experience great pain. Everyone will. Most everyone in the world loves someone. And whether it's losing that someone that causes them pain or not receiving the kind of love back from that someone that causes them great pain, either way we will experience great pain. And so it's like, it would be best to learn to use it, right? To learn to work with it. To have structures in our lives that support the times that we'll face pain. Sometimes there'll be times that we can see coming. Like if you know that there's a breakup happening and it's gonna be painful, you can see that pain coming. But if someone dies who's close to you, they suddenly die, you can't see that pain coming, and you know, you gotta roll with the punches. And either way, I think having a container, having a practice, having a relationship with pain, not in a weird way. I want to be very careful about like using those words together, relationship with pain, because don't get weird about it. Don't be like attached to pain in a certain way. No, that's not what I'm saying, but it's kind of like having a relationship with death to me, or a relationship with loss, or a relationship with grief. Like, these are things we are going to encounter in our lives. It's just like having a relationship with joy, having a relationship with prayer, having a relationship with peace, having a relationship with love. That's such a wonderful relationship to have. Love is so divine that like real love is just all encompassing. So these live in tandem with one another. If you have great love, you'll have great pain. If you have great joy, it's probably because you've experienced great grief. If you have great peace, it's because you've experienced great trauma and turmoil. Um, yeah, so, same dance, two sides, same coin. It's like learning how to live with both of them is a relationship. So that's what I mean by the relationship to pain. I just didn't want to be weird about it. Um, like, don't attach to your relationship with pain, or don't attach your relationship to pain to everything else. Like, no, just have a relationship, have a healthy relationship, work on your relationship with it so that when it pops up surprisingly, it doesn't drag you as far out of yourself to deal with it, you know? So have your baths, have your massages, have your person to talk to, or your people to talk to. Have your spot on a mountain in the middle of the woods that you can go to, and your favorite tree. Um, One of my favorite grief rituals that I've come across within the past multiple years of dealing with grief is the practice of transmuting rage, um, which in my book, rage is like pain multiplied. It's pain that hasn't been expressed, and it's multiplied to the point of like, if I don't get this out of me, I am gonna die or I'll kill someone. Like it's a crazy feeling. So, and I know that feeling because I've experienced rage. Um, so one of my favorite practices for that, or just for like really intense emotions that you're like, what am I going to do with this? How can I live with this in my body? Don't live with it in your body. Go outside, find a tree. You don't even have to be somewhere that's like less populated. Find a tree, dig a hole, dig a hole in the ground, dig a hole in the ground big enough for your fist to fit in. You're not gonna punch the ground, but you are gonna put your mouth to the ground and scream into the hole. Yeah, yeah. You're gonna put your mouth to the ground, scream into the hole. The earth is gonna receive it. It's gonna compost it. It's gonna be able to transmute all that energy while also muffling the sound, and you're gonna feel better. Do it as many times as you need to. Keep it on the back burner for the next time you feel enraged, or a feeling that you just have to get out of your body quickly. Um, these things are always available to us. So, yeah. So, like, it's funny how, self care practices, we talk about self care practices to stay well, right? To maintain mental health and also physical health. Um, and to de stress. Um, but these same practices work for transmuting pain, for processing pain, for living through pain. Um, and yeah, so that's like physical techniques always available to everyone. If you want to go buy something, um, there are also herbs that I love for pain management, emotional pain management, and um, yeah, so the first one that comes to mind is aloe vera. I love aloe vera. I've told this story before in this podcast. I got the call that my best friend of 20 years had died, and I was in the middle of making watermelon juice, and I had just started a week-long like treatment with aloe vera, drinking bitter aloe vera water, and I continued making my juice after the call because one, watermelon is extremely hydrating and really good for the heart. It's pink, so you can tell it's good for the blood, good for the heart. And two, I knew that the best way to deal with the shock of what that meant, that my best friend had just died, it would be to hydrate my body well, to really treat my body very well. And over the course of the week, as I was drinking this, both watermelon juice, fresh watermelon juice, and aloe vera water, I was dealing with, the mutual friends calling me, checking up, calling to find out what happened, processing their own grief around it, and steadily drinking my juice, drinking my aloe water, and not to say that other things that I had been processing, other life processes that I had already been engaged in, didn't help in this moment, but I'll never forget that, like, those two foods I was using as medicine for this emotional time in my life. And that was just a year and a half ago. So, yeah, like, to me, those are kind of the cheapest routes is watch what you put in your body. Watch the foods that you put in. Make sure they're hydrating. Add some vitamin B complex into your regimen. Like, actually go out and get a supplement, because it's an adaptogen, so it's going to adapt to the stress, even if you don't feel stressed, of, like, just losing a person. But the same thing goes for if you just had a major transition in your life. It's not necessarily that a person has died, but if there's a major transition in your life, I always go to the vitamin B12, or B complex, really. And you can get vitamin B from other things like berries. Berries aren't always in season, but they're really great. If you can find some wild blueberries, love those. And actually, I do have a little story about wild blueberries. It's funny now that I mention it, because last summer, which was the following summer, it was a year after my friend passed, I found myself working on a farm. And I have found myself do this a few times in my life now, where I've had major losses that have shaken, something in my life. And in order to process them, I found farm work. So I found myself working on a farm, and it was a blueberry farm. So I get to, like, walk around and eat fresh blueberries all the time. Oh my God, they were so good. So I'm like, tilling the soil, which is really good for the heart and the mind and the body and everything. I'm getting all those good nutrients that I'm breathing in from the air and touching the soil. And I'm eating fresh blueberries all the time. Pretty much like all summer. I was in that. And yeah, so these things help. They help. And other than that, when my mom died, I went to see an acupuncturist, and I'm pretty careful about, like, most body practitioners, but acupuncturists especially, because I think acupuncture is it's an art form and a science, really, that a lot of people have been learning. A lot of people in the West have been learning, and I guess they don't have to learn that much before they can start doing it on people. And not to say that new acupuncture practitioners aren't good, but everybody has to start somewhere. But I like going to Chinese acupuncturists, people who've been doing it for at least 30 years, and who can pair the acupuncture with traditional medicine. So because they just have more knowledge about how the body functions, the meridians function, and then how to use herbs in tandem with this body work. So I did see a professional, like, master, really good acupuncturist for about 5 or 6 weeks after my mom passed, which I really should have gone for 10, but it was expensive. And so that kind of helped with the immediate, like, jolt of losing my mother in her physical form. My mother is still very much present in my life. I always have to say that. I just dreamt of her a couple of nights ago. Like, we're still in relationship, me and my mother. The dream that I had of her a few nights ago was so healing. She and I were talking in a way that I really needed for a long time, and I think I'm in this place in my life right now where I have a lot more integrity with what I speak, and just speaking truthfully, and lovingly to people, and maybe from this process, I have this dream that my mother and I are talking things out, talking about the things that happened both when I was growing up that were difficult between us, or also things that we appreciated from that time, and things that came up since the time that she died. So over the last, it's going to be 16 years this year. Over the last 16 years, like how my relationship with her has impacted my life and myself. So we were talking about these things in my dream, and I was crying because I still feel like, yeah, some of that pain of losing her, of the change that it caused, of the way that it changed my life, just everything in my life. And I still had tears. I still had tears of pain for that, and they needed to come out. They needed to be expressed. So in the dream, we were talking, I was crying. I woke up from the dream. I continued talking to her out loud. I was in a dark bedroom. Out loud, I start talking to her. I'm continuing the relationship, the processing. I start crying. I feel the sides of my eyes kind of burning. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I mean, this is, your eyes create tears, right? And for me, I felt like I had to hold it together for so long. My younger sister needed me. She got pregnant pretty soon after my mom passed. So then her daughter needed me. I just gave myself over to duty, and my sister and I both recognize this now, how much we were holding it together, especially in that decade after mommy's passing. But it was like I felt all that holding in my eyes, in the burning of like the pain, and I was actually really glad to be experiencing that flush in that moment, physically in the dream world, and then in the physical world when I woke up. And I think that those things are really important. It's important to flush. Yeah, it's important to express. Even if you have to imagine that the person you want to express to is there, even if they're not actually available, even if they're alive but their personality doesn't allow them to be as present for you as you want them to be, like, use your imagination. Use your imagination, because that thing is powerful. It is so powerful. Don't let things get trapped inside you because you're waiting for somebody else to affirm what you're experiencing, or to affirm that they had something to do with what you're experiencing. You say it, imagine they're there, imagine they're receiving it, imagine they're feeling it, imagine what they'll say back. Be in conversation, respond to what you've imagined they would say back, and do it that way until you've let it all out. And if you don't have space for yourself to do that, if you don't have a room or a space that you can be alone, or time, I put that in air quotes because, like, you always have time. You always have time. It's about what you want to do. But yeah, then go out. Go out into nature. Find that tree. I'm telling you, find that tree. Find your favorite tree. And make that tree like your grandmother, who has all love for you and no bad things to say about you ever, and will literally listen to you say anything and everything, and sometimes babble. That tree that you can cry on, can sit with, that shades you, that shelters you, that feels good, where you can sit and you can take a lunch and share. Like that wise tree. Find that tree. It is effective. Use your imagination. It is incredibly effective. Heal. Express. It is incredibly effective at preventing disease. And as far as your relationship with pain, make it like your relationship with everything else. Joy, wisdom, peace, learning. Have a structure for it. Do things for it that you know are effective for you. And above all else, number one, in every process, have patience. There is no rush. What are you trying to get to? Have patience with yourself. I know that sometimes when the emotions feel very uncomfortable, we want to get over them quickly. Just switch your perspective in that moment to how much you're learning. How much this experience is wising you. Wising you up. Wisening, is that a word? I want to say wisening. Wisening you. Use it to build your character. Yeah, don't let that just fall to the wayside because someone else is not gonna pat you on the back for how well you composed yourself and got through your pain. And also, don't make things harder on yourself in an attempt to try to get people to tell you how hard you're working. Be centered. Find your center and be patient with finding that center. Because it's your own and it's quite unique. And from that place, that's where your voice lives. That's where your intuition lives. That's where your true nature lives. That's where your magnetism lives. That's where all the good things that you can use to curate your life in your favor, that's where all those things live. So if you don't take the time to cultivate that relationship and that space within yourself, you cannot rush it. You can't bypass it. You have to go the stages and the steps that it takes. You have to be where you are in it, knowing that there's another stage, there's another day, there's another level beyond where you can see. So be content with where you are while also opening your arms to what is possible, what's ahead, what's in your future. Because I'm here to tell you, after all the nights that I felt like, oh my God, how can I live with myself if I feel this way? The next day always came and I always felt better. And that's how I learned. Pain is an entry point. It's just a stage. And it's a very important, crucial, vital stage in self-development. So embrace it, baby. Embrace it and walk with it. Walk into it. Face it. Let it go when it's done. Okay? Game. Go all the way and let it go when it's done. Okay. I love you, beloved. Thank you so much for joining me on the Beyond Grief podcast. I think this is episode 14. I like the number 14. So thanks so much. And I look forward to being with you next time. Oh, let me give you some chimes. Okay, bye.